Hi, everyone. This is Star Ravenhawk, and I am happy to have all of you here tonight with us. And I wanted to welcome Christian Day to the show tonight. So if you guys can hold on one second, and I'm going to tell you guys know by now, if it's just me and Rhonda is not here, I'm the one doing the back end, so I'm not great at it. So hold on for 1 second, okay? Hold on.
It's a magical, witchy world. It's a magical, witchy world.
All right, welcome to the Magical Witchy World TV, and as we said, we have Christian Day with us here tonight. And I'm sorry, but Rhonda is off sick tonight, so I just wanted you guys to know that, okay? So, Christian, welcome, and thank you for being with us here tonight.
Good to be here. I have to ask you, how did you get that music?
Oh, that is, we always say it, that is from Fred Schaff. He is one of the performers that we have at Witches Fest many years in a row. He's called Dark Moon Spirit, and he wrote and performed this song for us for the show.
Fantastic.
So I always have to thank him for doing that for us. It sounds so great, right? I love it.
Oh, it's great to have your own theme song.
I know, right? That's
I
him.
think mine might be
He wrote it for us.
Mine would be too filled with profanity.
It's all good. It's all good. Okay, as per usual, we will give a background, a little bit about a bio about Christian Day before we begin the questions about everything that we want to have, that lovely Q&A with him. All right, so Christian Day is a modern-day warlock living in the Crescent City of New Orleans, Louisiana. With his husband, Brian Kane, he owns Hex, Old World Witchery, a shop that brings the old world practices of witchcraft, hoodoo, and conjure to both Salem, Massachusetts, and New Orleans. A dedicated practitioner of the craft, Christian blends the priesthood of the old gods with the magic of folk witchery, healing, and spirit work. Christian and Brian are the creators of Hexfest, an annual weekend of witchery in New Orleans that draws practitioners from around the world. They also host Festival of the Dead, a month-long celebration of spirits held each October in Salem, featuring the official Salem witches. Halloween Ball, the annual psychic fair and witchcraft expo, and authentic seances that bridge the living and the dead. They also co-host 2 online festivals, WitchCon, which I'm hoping every year, and of course Christian is there, the world's largest live stream magical conference and spectral evidence, a live stream gathering that explores the occult and the paranormal. In addition, they founded Warlock Press, a boutique publisher committed to bringing words of power to the world. Christian was an early digital pioneer, launching one of the first tarot websites on the internet, salemtarot.com, back in 1994. His work and insights into witchcraft and the spirit world have been featured on Discovery Ghost Adventures, Showtime, TLC, MSNBC, Biography, and Dish Network, as well as in the Chicago Tribune, the Wall Street Journal, the Boston Globe, the Boston Herald, CNN.com, USAtoday.com, and the Salem News. Wow, that's awesome. Quite a mouthful.
We forgot one.
And
the magic of the Nile. Trip to Egypt.
And I will try to see if I can do the scrolling across the screen. I am really bad, as you guys know, at that. If I don't, it's christianday.com. All right, for you guys to get a hold of him. So, Christian, again, welcome and thank you for being with us here tonight. All right.
It was a pleasure.
That's a lot of accolades. So I love that. So one of the first questions we always ask everyone, and we pretty much ask the same questions of all of our guests, because we want people to know that, or rather expose people to the many different spiritualities of everyone that's involved in our different communities. So because we know that many of us kind of go, whatever brought us to the world of spirituality that we're in, we begin calling ourselves a particular name, not titles that other people give us, but what we called ourselves. And then we kind of do an arc as to what we've changed and what we become, and then what we end up being calling ourselves presently. So if you can kind of give us a little bit of an arc of what you started calling yourself at the beginning, and then, you know, and how you end up where you are, what you're calling yourself.
As long as I don't have to say what other people call me.
No, no, this is actually just all you, what you call yourself.
No, well, really, my first word or two words really was tarot reader when I was 17 years old. That was my first love.
Mm.
And of course, my mother was hanging out with this woman who said, came over the house and said, "I'm a witch." The hell, I don't know. Thinking Samantha Stevens, I'm like, but I got very interested. I went and bought some books, and when I was 20, that was when I met Lori. Well, actually, I met her when I was 19, but when I was 20, I studied with Lori Cabot, who we both know. And so I used the word witch, but somewhere around 2011, I really became fond of the word warlock, which was, of course, a much bigger controversy in 2011 than it is now. Nobody really notices it now. But I really liked it, not so much because of the male aspect, as though I will say, if the word warlock was more acceptable, I think more men, straight men, would become witches than they do Asatru and all those other things. Because I'm always hearing the complaint from these women in the craft, going, why are all the male witches gay? And I'm like, because they don't have that word warlock they can be all hetero with.
Wow.
But I liked it because it referred, one of the series is that it refers to a song in the saga of Eric the Red in the Norse mythology, of a song that summons the spirit. But
Mm.
beginning in 2017, I took on a new word, which I add to both witch and warlock, which I use often interchangeably, priest, because I became, after 30 years of turning my nose up at it, an initiate of the craft. And so, I'm priest, I am witch, I'm warlock, I'm all sorts of things.
Right. Right. That's awesome. See, that's what I like people to see, that journey of when your thoughts change and what, the different things that you take on, the different
Totally.
roles.
I
Yeah.
had to read the second edition of my book because the first version was very non-religious. I was sort of that voice of this is just casting spells, for many years. And I abandoned that because I really do feel like there is a connection to spirit that we cannot ignore. And I feel like when we embrace that higher power, that we call goddess and God, but we have many names for these things throughout religions and spiritual paths.
Hmm. Hmm.
That connection. Um, an interesting side note: when my husband was having an Alexandrian soiree at one of our shops in Salem, about 5 years ago, in the Q&A section, someone spoke up, and you know how these people in the Q&A love to actually declare things as opposed to ask questions. And she says, "Well, I think that witchcraft is all just magic. It's not about religion." And then when she raises her hand again and she says to Brian, "Why doesn't my magic work?" And he says, "Well, maybe you should try God." There is that. I had to find that epiphany actually in Ireland at a statue of Saint Brigid, where I actually cried. Um,
That's awesome.
experiencing this. It was a grotto of that they had, and it wasn't in Kildare; it was in Western Ireland,
Mm.
and that was really where I had that powerful moment.
I think we all have a certain moment where things changes for us, and what epitome of different things of what we got kind of, or epiphany rather, of where we kind of say, okay, this is it for me, or this is what I'm going to call myself, or like you said, you embraced initiation on all the different things. It changes as we go by. You know what I mean?
It's mellowed me. I'm nicer.
Okay.
Increment, incrementally.
Maybe in a way it has, but also don't forget, as we get older too, we kind of mellow ourselves out and kind of say whatever kind of a thing. and
called,
things kind of
called
fly over our heads every now and then, kind of
it's
a
like
thing.
in swear, it's like fuck it,
Yeah. That's
But
true.
I have to say, as another aside, my favorite fuck it is Lori Cabot at 92.
Oh, okay. I remember her saying that.
No, but I don't mean saying it. I just mean her attitude now is just like,
Yeah, as
mm,
you get older, you do kind of have that. You just don't care. Anyways, but in the chat, I had to check really quickly. I tried to check really quickly. There's a lot of people there. They're saying hi, their favorite warlock, and hi to me, and all the different things. So they have been talking and letting you know some of them from your
oh yeah,
from
I'm reading.
WitchCon too and stuff like that.
Oh, one of my new favorite people that have come around is she's a tarot teacher. I don't know if I'm saying,
Emily
yeah,
Muniz.
Emily Muniz.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's awesome. She's awesome. I'm hoping she's
so
going to be at Witches
glamorous.
Fest. Emily, I'm going to tell you now, be at Witches Fest this year.
She's so glamorous, like
Okay,
so
yeah, she
glamorous.
is, right? She's amazing. Okay, so next question. What brought you to the world of being a witch? You mentioned earlier that it happened to you when around 17, but what attracted you? What made you
Well,
think,
even
okay,
before that, I had an aunt that was reading tarot cards, and I said I wanted to learn it. I was 15, and she said that I was too young, and I didn't. I was a very perceptive child, but I always like to say I was not an indigo child. I was a Ritalin child. I didn't have those experiences that people have, when they're psychic children. I had to discover it really, even after witchcraft, or sort of dabbling. I was still a tarot reader. I never considered myself psychic in any way until I took Lori Cabot's Witchcraft 1 class, uh,
mm, mm.
1990. Well, you've taken it,
Yes, yes, yes.
and I still to this, it's 35 years later. There was a 10-year period we didn't speak, and I still would do her thing. And people would go, "Well, you don't like Lori Cabot." I'm like, if there was no Lori Cabot, there'd be no me. Like many of us, really, I think most of us don't give her the credit for how much in her shadow we all really are, and that how much she's influenced so many of us out there.
Mm,
And I still use all of this to this day. So, I mean, but really, it was the tarot that pulled me in.
awesome, awesome. So, from your point of view, what does it mean to be that warlock?
Um, I think all the words, it's like I don't tend to use words like pagan or Wiccan or things that have a more religious implication because I do like power words, whether it's warlock or witch or necromancer, sorcerer, or even wizard. And, I love Oberon using wizard, it that these words that imply wisdom, knowledge, power, but not negative power,
Mm,
empowerment, that
right.
what is it? I heard the acronym for WIT, woman in total charge of herself. And I
Oh,
love that mindset that this, these words that we choose, it's sort of like watching Drag Race and you see these drag queens and once they put on the drag,
they
ask
become that persona.
it's not fake. It literally pulls this energy out from
Yeah.
within, and it's like
Mm,
pow,
yeah.
and you
Yeah.
end up becoming and emerging. And to
Yeah.
me, witch, warlock, witchcraft, magic, all of those words really bring this out. It's like I can do that. I
Yeah.
know, one of the most empowering things about developing your psychic ability and knowing or magic, to go into I had a person we had to part ways with in business in my tour company, and after he left, he deleted our Airbnb listing, which was like 40% of our revenue. And I must have called Airbnb. I think it was like 22 tickets I'd opened, and they just kept refusing to turn it back on. So my husband says, "Why don't you go into the circle and do the magic with the coven?" Normally you'll never see me talk about any magic I do, at least in advance. But once in a great while, I'll say, "Okay, this spell worked," after it did. But I gave him this dirty look, and I said, "The hell? I've done 22 tickets. You really think some candle's going to do it?" And even how that goes. Even as witches, we have those moments where we
Yeah.
have the confidence or whatever. But I just said, you know what? screw it. You go in, and the
Yeah.
Salem Coven, we did the magic. 5 days later, I get this email from Airbnb.
There
Oh,
you
we
go.
decided to reopen your case, and we're giving you back the listing out of nowhere. And that's the
Excellent.
kind of magic that is just so much fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I kind of know what you mean. Kind of like when I got this apartment back in 96, I remember saying, I so don't want to have another mortgage. I don't want to have this. I don't want to have that, but I just want to own it outright. And I put out, but then if you don't do the other part of actually doing something about it, so I put out signs everywhere, and I said, anyone that could find me an apartment, um, uh, nearby that I don't have to pay a mortgage for, near or close to Manhattan, I will buy it outright, and they'll get $2,500. No, I said $500. Sorry. And I ended up getting the person calling me. They told me about this place. I offered what I offered, and the person accepted. I bought it outright, and I paid the person $500 cash. So the whole thing cost me $2,500 for a 2-bedroom apartment in New York City.
And
Yeah.
you see, a lot of people talk about that piece of magic where you can't just do the magic, you have to do the real world. But
Yes.
they often forget
Yeah.
the real world is the magic, because the signs that you put up, the phone calls that you make, the promises that you make, those pacts of the $500, those are all spells.
Yes.
They're all
Yes. And that's why you have to
forms of
keep your
energy.
word. Keep your word. You have
Right.
to keep your word with
You
it.
you hit something really powerful to me, because my Brian's co-host on Covendom, Levi Roland, he says I have a Calvinist obsession with the truth, and I really, my head will explode when things contradict, and my husband
Yeah.
will say to
Yeah.
me, Christian, you're trying to find justice in a world where Donald Trump is president. I'm like, okay, I want
Does not
everything.
make any sense, does
I
not
want all
it?
the ducks to be in a row and everything to make sense, and it's something that I believe so strongly in magic, because
Right.
if you live, I mean, yes, there's an aspect of witchcraft that is glamour and even deception to some degree if you need to do that, but it has to be understood, because
Yeah.
if you live a life of dishonesty, if your own words have no value to you, how do you expect them to have value to the universe? If I'm going to
Right.
put
Right.
that out there, I want this, I'm
Yeah.
going to have this
Exactly. And
apartment
you
for
honestly
25.
do it. Yeah.
You have to maintain that sense of truth. And it's something I think is a big part of why so many people fail at magic, because
Mm.
they don't have faith in their own words, because they've taught themselves not to.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is kind of sad, because then they wonder why, it works for some people, but not for them, kind of a thing. But that kind of, that statement you just made kind of does a great segue into me then asking you, how is magic a part of your lifestyle on a daily basis? And you kind of just said it, pretty much, but you kind of get a little bit more expansion on that.
I know my husband's a lot more ritualistic. It's like he'll sometimes look at me because he knows I don't use my altar of the dead as much, or I do, I'm not as, a lot of my magic is in the mind. I'm at the
Right.
supermarket, and well, when do I ever go to the supermarket anymore? I have it delivered. But, if I'm going somewhere and I need a parking space, I still use the old Lori Cabot,
Yes, I do that. I do the finger.
oh yeah, I'm gonna go. We got to get that parking space,
Yes,
now,
yes. Parking, parking.
and to really put that energy out there. Magic is every day. Like every day, everything you do is magical, because it's you doing it.
Yeah,
And if you're a magical person, every act becomes a magical act. And
yeah,
so,
absolutely.
yeah, I do think, I know when I was had a singing teacher, my voice was always at a much better place. Well, likewise, when I was in a coven meeting every week, which is hard now because, we're back and forth between Salem and New Orleans. Brian is in the New Orleans coven as the high priest. I'm in the Salem coven, which my niece Angel has just taken over as the high priestess. I'm still first degree in Alexandrian. So I said to my niece, who's 38, I says, Angel, this is the first time in 38 years you've had any authority over me. You should have some fun with it. And no, but I don't get to go. But I will say, when I am in ritual, because our temples meet weekly, And when I'm in that ritual every week, making that coven connection, that magical connection of people sharing that power through the circle and honoring those gods and the, the goddess and
Mm.
God, and connecting to that spirit power, it really is much like seeing a regular singing teacher. You keep things sharp, and I am noticing, since I'm not in ritual as much, that it
Mm.
does become more challenging. There will become a point where I think we'll be able to interact more in the different covens, but there's certain ways that these covens work separately when they're first hiving off, and that sort of thing. And but that magic is there for all of us,
Right.
to know that you have that coven. And God knows I've been through my share of these ad hoc coven, quote unquote, where three people brought magic and everyone else brought Rice Krispie treats and tuna casserole and not very much magic. I gotta say that my husband's very lucky, Brian, to have gotten such spectacular, dedicated, magical students
Yeah,
that
that's awesome.
they bring that A game every time.
Yeah.
And I never sit there thinking, who brought the casserole? It's wonderful.
Right, right. So it's kind of something that you want to kind of think about, because you kind of, I know you might have a lot of different things, but what do you consider that's most important to you right now?
Oh God, I am so ADD in that way that, like, I really am Auntie Mame. She gave up basket weaving for sculpture. Like, I pick these things up. So
Excuse
right
me.
now, I mean, as far as magically and what I'm doing, the thing I'm most excited. Well, actually, I think it's probably Claude AI, if I'm really being honest. What a wizardry book that is. I'm using it to build websites, to do all these things that used to take me, hundreds of hours, and now I do them immediately. But magically, really, Egypt.
Okay.
This magic of the Nile trip that we're doing. And we have a friend that we met when we took the tour of Egypt with Abercrombie and Kenton in 2020, and she was an Egyptologist, but we found her fascinating because Hala, Ali, that's her name, does not. She was raised Muslim, but she's not now. She's follows the 42 negative confessions of Ma'at and
Ah,
follows
she's our Egyptian.
Egyptian spirituality. And what's wonderful about this one, so I think she's about 62, looks, like all magical people, we all look younger than we are.
Yeah.
And, she much younger than she is, and she always wore her hair down. She wears her hair down. And in Egypt, that used to be normal until the Iranian Revolution. People would come back, so you should cover your hair. Well, she refused. And we would go to Upper Egypt, which is, Luxor and that area, where it's much more conservative. We'd get on the piers and we'd see the looks, the guys that would give her, like, how dare she wear her hair? And she doesn't even notice. Like, she's such a confident, magical being. So that we thought very early on, and we had her teach at Hexfest. We thought very early on, we really need to do something with her
Ah,
and
okay.
create something that's not, there's a lot of these woo-woo people in Egypt that, I'm the reincarnation of, whatever. And they, of the Kemetic
Oh,
creature,
gosh.
Atlantis or whatever. And I'm like, I don't want that. I want somebody that really understands the true myth and practice of these people.
Right.
And we're really honoring that energy legitimately, and
Mm,
it's
nice.
very, it's just very high octane.
Right.
I'm super excited about, because I get to do all my research, and I'm wanting to. It's forcing me to learn more
Yeah.
about Egyptian culture, because I can't very well take people, on a boat and in hotels around. Even though Hala's going to do most of the talking, Brian and I will do rituals and talks and things, and I don't want to sound like a complete moron when it comes to Egypt. So
You want to
I'm
educate
sort of
yourself. Yeah.
so it's exciting for me,
Yeah.
to know, and I knew a little because, of course, I researched quite a bit of Egypt for my book, because
Mm,
that's really where so much of the reverence for the ancestors and the dead became so much of a crossroads of everything, because Egypt was that point between Africa, Asia, and even Europe.
Right.
It's in that place where it conjuncts with everything. And so you get this influence of Egypt across the entire. Isis became a universal goddess. She conquered the world.
Mm.
I am all that has been, all that is, and all that shall be.
Right, right. That's so interesting. So let's talk a little bit about the community that you're trying to, or just in community in general. And I
Okay.
don't mean, I'm not using the word pagan, the witchy community.
I
And
like the term. You know what I like?
what?
And Brian was the one that started using this. He always said this at Hexfest. I don't see a witch community or voodoo or hoodoo community or uh, a Christian community. I see a magical community because I really feel like
That's what I call it, the magical community.
magic is that. I'm having flashbacks to Willow. Magic is the bloodstream of the universe. Which finger? Magic is that all-pervading thing that binds us.
Mm,
And it's why, people sometimes wonder, as much of a see you next Tuesday as I can be, why is he so forgiving? They always ask, he's so forgiving. Because I don't hold it, because we're all magical. And
right,
if people can find, I suppose unless they're a mass murderer or, child molester or something, there's certainly things we wouldn't want to have around. But I really try to have an open door. And, especially now, because we've been in such a culture that is so toxic and polarized.
mm,
And while I'm very much a good little liberal and what have you, I found this whole cancel culture mindset to be really frustrating. And I've really tried to focus on conversation culture. And, when I was involved with Oberon's Pagan Solidarity Group, um, there was this sort of mindset of fearing the Christians, and we must, and God knows I've dealt with these crazy Christians in Salem, including violence in this last October that had the FBI involved. But I still force myself to have the hard conversations. I got on the phone with one of these toxic ministers in an hour of my life I'll never get back. But I don't regret it, even though it didn't work out, because it worked out with the group the year before. Those people that harassed our ritual in
right,
2023 came back in 2024 with a book and a hoodie with the Archangel Michael, who I actually work with, and they were wonderful. Granted,
right.
I had to call them in San Diego and say I might show up at their church with strippers and witch hats and bikinis, and then they got real nice on the phone. Now we're friends, but sometimes you gotta play a little hard. I played a little hard,
Yeah,
but I keep the door open.
yeah,
And I just say, okay, maybe this person and I don't. It's very hard to get in that place where I shut someone out forever. Like,
yeah.
that's a very short list in life, because I feel like there's too many opportunities to find that thing we call community,
Mm,
which isn't real. I a friend of mine said in our magical communities, it's really more of a scene. Like, because
probably.
there isn't enough. I just saw somebody posting the other day about how much we needed a policing of our own communities. And
Oh,
it's like,
goddess.
why don't we try to sit at the table first instead of trying to ostracize and and I'm not saying some of these people aren't, worthy of ostracizing, but I still feel like there has to be another way. And it's difficult for me, but 10
Right,
years
right.
ago, I deleted hundreds of Trumpies in the 2016 election. I would never do that now. I've really forced myself to say, okay, I diametrically opposed to 90% of this person. I have to find a way.
Yeah.
I cannot make.
I have to say, you are a lot more forgiving than I am, because I'm not. Maybe it's my age now. I really don't. I give zero, zero.
I get it. I just feel like I can't have influence over rooms I'm not in.
No, no, absolutely. I just keep it all to myself, and I'm like, I just can't do stupid for very long, and I'm not willing to tolerate stupid. So you open that door to
I may
speaking with the
sound like a
Christians.
complete.
I'm not opening that door at
I
all.
might sound like a complete douchebag in what I'm
No,
going to
no,
say,
no, no,
but
no, no. You
as
know,
as smart
everybody's
as I
different.
as smart as I am, I often feel that way throughout life. So it's just
Yeah, no,
I've always said, when I was a child, I always say, when I was a child, I thought, I'm only 2 point genius. Like 142 is 2 points. I'm the same IQ as Sharon Stone. Um, and as a child, my mother would subscribe me to these gifted children newsletters and things. And I would say, "Oh, genius! I'm a genius. It's such a blessing." It's a curse. It's a curse because you are constantly having to dumb yourself down and be aware that people just don't have the capacity, and it's not their
yeah,
fault.
I can't do it.
They don't know. They can't know what they don't know, and so
But you see, that's the thing. You're giving them that forgiving out of they don't know, and I'm saying bullshit on that. They do know. They
oh,
are
some of them
aware. They just don't care, and they want to sit and
I
marinate
don't
in
know
their little
some of
stupid.
these, and
And I can't do it.
I'm going to thank South Park for giving me this word back, but some of these people really are 2 clicks from retarded. I mean, they don't. They're not, they're not capable. Oh, they're quite a few French fries short of a Happy Meal.
Yeah, I can't. I can't do
It's
it. I
just,
can't do
and
it.
no, I will never really have the patience, but I have more than I used to have, which is
Yeah,
probably a good thing because it spares the world from a lot of misery. When
it is.
Christians upset, the world's upset.
Yeah, I just kind of go, yeah, okay, thanks, good thoughts. Okay, bye bye. I don't have it in me anymore.
Oh, Lori's if you watch her, if you watch Lori's last, I forget which one it was. I don't know if it was Spectral Evidence or last year's WitchCon, but I'm on with Lori and she's like, I don't really see witchcraft as a religion. I kind of did it for them. She was just so blunt. She's just like, whatever. And I'm just like, this is my favorite Lori of all the Loris. Because
Yes.
it's just
Okay.
so direct.
Well, okay. So then, just by what you just said, I'm going to ask you next. What would you like to see us as a magical community or magical people accomplish?
Finding more common ground.
Okay.
We're
Now that
constantly
I like
looking at ways of, and if I can sort of address the sort of obvious here, you know, you as a woman of color that is practicing a lot of the European stuff, nowadays you're seeing things like, well, you're black. Why aren't you doing your own, roots of whatever? You know how that goes. And everybody's trying to be, well, I'm a closed tradition of this and I'm a closed, and they're all trying to wall each other off. And I'm not just saying people of color. I mean, white people that are members of Asatru and they want to wall themselves off and they want to put themselves, or I follow this particular religious path and I'm going to sort of isolate myself from everything else. Well, I do think that our traditions do make us different. I don't think someone that practices Santeria is the same as a person that practices European witchcraft, but our common ground is our magic, our humanity, our ability to socialize and find places where we can intersect on things that we could all care about, the environment. There are things that so many of us, as we're constantly struggling to build these walls, and I think it's emblematic of our culture right now. I've often said, I don't think Trump, for example, not to get too political, but I don't think he's a cause. I think he's a symptom.
Yeah. Oh
And
no.
I think
That I believe. That I
we, the
believe.
culture, were just all, and it's not a left right, like it's just people are
Yeah. In
constantly
general.
looking for new ways to wall one another off, and I've been part of it. I've been entirely guilty.
Yeah.
And
And like you just said,
I
you're
can't.
right. It's not a left or a right or any of those kinds of things. And I, coming from a person who myself personally have worked with him back in 2002 or whatever, and I am still waiting for that money that I know he will never pay me, because as usual, when you work with him or for him, you never did the job, and that's why I'm not paying you. And he
Oh,
never
and
pays
wasn't he a
anybody.
Democrat then anyway? It just proves the losers coming off stuff.
Yeah. He's just who he is. And people could say, well, I know him, but none of them have met him. But I did. And I worked with that little whatever. Anyways, I'm not going to go there
I
because then
did meet
I
I
get
remember
all
I gave
irritated.
Stormy we gave Stormy Daniels an award, so I've met her. I heard that.
But either ways, it's just making me think about. So I like that you mentioned about that common ground and trying to think of what we can do to get things to move forward. So it's a nice thought as to in
It's
this
reality.
I'm
I'm
gonna
not an
use
idiot.
that word loosely. It's a nice thought.
It's it's an ideal. I
Yes.
don't have many of them in this jaded stage of my life, but I got a few left.
Right, right. Okay. So, what other projects do you have coming up? Either, well, it's got to be for 2026 because we're in December now.
Well,
So,
I mean, WitchCon is coming up like February 20th to the
yep,
22nd, which
yep,
is
I'm going to be there.
the
I've got my nice
largest
class.
the
Yeah,
largest live stream magical conference in the world. We have people, one of the things I love about when we did when COVID happened and we had to bring Hexfest online, which really devastated me because the point of Hexfest is to leverage and embrace the magic of New Orleans. It's very much a spirit of place event.
yeah,
It doesn't belong online.
right,
We had to do it like you did. We all did. And, like refugees. But
right.
when I did WitchCon, I said, what if we leveraged what made the internet unique? And how would that play out in an online festival? And so as I thought about it, I said, well, it doesn't have to be the same old people.
Yeah,
Like I can have somebody live streaming from an island I can't even Zarusra. I don't even know how you some
yeah,
island in Greece. I don't know the name.
yeah,
And
yeah.
there's somebody, live streaming from Zarusra or whatever it is. And and from India and Bulgaria
I
and
think
all of
it's wonderful. I think
this,
it's wonderful
the
because,
internationality of it and the
yeah,
fact, that and the fact that one of the drawbacks of an in-person festival is you sit there agonizing, well, do I want to see Star Ravenhawk or Christine Stevens, or am I going to Silver Raven with them? Oh my God, I got to choose. Well, with this, you don't have to because you can watch all of the
right, right.
playbacks. And
Yeah,
so that's where that kind of came about. I'm trying to recreate that with the paranormal with spectral evidence, which is next.
yeah, yeah. I saw that.
That
Yeah,
wasn't as successful. But again,
right.
it's a different. I'm not really. I mean, I'm known in the paranormal world because of some of these. What do you thing like I did Ghost Adventures and that kind of thing. So they do
Right,
know me, but I'm not necessarily credible in that world. So
right,
it was always a crapshoot, but I do enjoy doing it. But
right.
there's that, and then of course, the Magic of the Nile, which is themagicofthenile.com.
Okay.
Uh, that is, I'm super excited. I mean, that's not till January of 27, but and it's very we're only going to have 16 guests besides Brian and I and Hala. So
What's that one going to be called? Oh, something with the Nile?
the Magic of the Nile,
The
Brian
Magic of the Nile.
would
Awesome.
love that. He came up with that, Brian.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. So, and you guys heard all the wonderful events that Christian Day and Brian Kane present to everyone. And like I said, I'm pretty much in all of his at his events because they're wonderful, and I love being part of it, of the experience of all of it. And the one thing that he did mention with the international part, because we did it for a little while with Witches Fest, of opening it up to the international world of where they're exposing all these different types of information and magical practices from around the world that you don't just get like that. I don't care at any event that you go to, you don't see that all presented there by people from around the world. And at these online events, like what Christian is doing with WitchCon, um, is actually doing that and giving you access to all of this for a very nominal fee, and you get exposed to amazing workshops. So and I
Oh,
think
every once in a while somebody
that,
complains, and I'm like, it's $99 for. Oh no,
right.
it's
That's what
95.
I don't understand
No,
why
but
they
for
complain.
120 workshops, you're paying less than $1 a person.
Right.
Um,
But you see, that's what I don't think people do not seem to appreciate when something has been giving them overvalue, which is odd. And that yet they will go and they'll pay for a pack of cigarettes, what, $10, $13, which what value is it giving you? Your addiction,
Cancer.
exactly, or buying a cup of coffee that costs like
Well,
seven, $8,
Well, this is the thing.
and it
When I
doesn't
fir-
make any sense. You got to knowledge is power
when
and
I first
empowerment.
started doing readings, I remember telling Lori Cabot, I was like, "Oh, I'm doing readings for my friends. I'm just doing them for free to learn." She said, "Don't do them for free." She said, "You have to at least charge an apple or a cup of coffee." She said,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
19 at the time, because she said they won't appreciate it.
They won't, and I hate to say that, but it's true. But it is what it is. But I want to thank Christian for being with us tonight. He has been so wonderful. It's been so long having him here with us and having this wonderful chat with him. And I love all your answers to the point where I didn't even realize the time went by longer than I was.
Now
So I
that
had to keep
happens a
track of the
lot with
time.
me.
Yes. So
I
again, we
do go
want to thank
on.
Christian so much. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Okay. And don't
Oh, you're
forget
welcome.
christianday.com. All right. Or witchcon.com or any of those things to go to. All right. Check it out. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
All righty. So we are back with the astrology time. So this is the last month of 2025. And the December horoscope for all the zodiac signs will begin with Aries. So we're going to do the first four signs tonight, okay? If I can do it, because I'm the only one doing it tonight. So it's like a lot of talking, which I don't really like doing. But anyways, Aries, if you need to travel this month, you're in luck. A conga line of planets in your long journey zone paved the way for effortless getaways. The full moon on the 4th was ideal for an early holiday road trip, but if not, you still have time. Mercury switched signs on the 11th yesterday, which has had you ready to fly to friendly skies. A vacation somewhere warm, why not? Avoid making hasty decisions on the 14th when your ruling planet Mars squares Neptune. You could be hoodwinked, so it's best to look before you leap. Your career sparkles when Mars zips into your career sector on the 15th, providing the ideal backdrop for power moves well into next month. Another opportunity to travel shows up with the new moon on the 19th. You might be heading home for the holidays or jetting off with loved ones to an exciting locale. Career recognition arrives when the sun moves into Capricorn on the 21st, followed by Venus on Christmas Eve. All of your hard work means 2025 ends on a glorious note for you. So that's me, Aries. Okay. So, Taurus, your security concerns may lead you to micromanage your budget this month. An aggressive strategy is needed. And thankfully, the Sun, Venus, and Mars in your eighth house helped you find the best plan. The full moon on the 4th was ideal for negotiating finances with your loved ones. And you still have chances to still keep doing that. If everyone is on the same page, you'll move forward towards your goals a lot faster. Speak with a financial advisor as Mercury moves into your Sagittarius sign. That was yesterday on the 11th. A sit down before the end of the year will have you ready for 2026. Travel is travel is on your mind when Mars dances into your ninth house on the 15th. As the holidays loom, you could be flying more than usual. This could be for business or pleasure, maybe both. A new source of income falls in your lap with the 19th new moon. This could be a tax break or a settlement or a gift. Once that happens, you'll feel more secure. The Sun and Venus joins Mars the week of the 21st, making travel feel like a glorious adventure. A winter vacation at the end of the year adds excitement to your celebrations. And avoid last minute shopping on Christmas Eve. I think that in general tells people stay the hell away from any malls or shopping on those times because it's crazy time, okay? Just saying. Okay. Venus is an unhappy aspect to Neptune, which could lead to poor decisions or regretful extravagances. If you get your gifts done before this date, you'll save yourself both money and tension, okay? And stress, big old stress. Gemini, relationships thrive this month for you. A bundle of planets in your seventh house as December commences bring opportunities to connect deeply. Asserting necessary boundaries was ideal beginning on the fourth full moon, and that this will ensure a healthy dynamic for you for the rest of the month. Your ruler Mercury enters Sagittarius on the 11th, which was yesterday, right? Yeah, today's the 12th. Yes. An ideal transit for talking out problems. It began yesterday, so still got time, okay? If there are issues, you'll be able to find a compromise. In Mercury, the Mercury Pluto sextile on the 13th is ideal for powerful conversations. This is your day to go deep, okay? An aggressive pursuit of money enters the arena when Mars changes signs on the 15th. If you it will be in if you in cap it will be in Capricorn, igniting your capacity for managing your income and other people's assets. When the Sun and Venus joins Mars the week of the 21st, you'll be well on your way to attracting more money and making great decisions. Got that? Decisions and money coming together. Okay, think wisely. Before that occurs, the new moon on the 19th signals a fresh partnership. Could this be a joint venture? If so, the prospects for a profitable alliance looks good. This could also mean a new romantic beginning or a new level with a current flame. So kind of keep that part in mind. It looks like you'll have plenty of reasons to celebrate as the year comes to an end. All right. And last but not least for tonight, Cancer. It may be the holiday season, but you are slammed at work. That's due to a busy sixth house, which puts you in go mode for most of December, unfortunately. It had you claiming me time on the 4th when the full moon arrived. But once that comes and goes, you're back to your grind. Mercury in Sagittarius finds you tied up in meetings for the rest of the month. This could also involve delegating duties, okay, especially if you hold a leadership role. Once Mars bounces into Capricorn on the 15th, you'll be able to motivate folks. So watch out for a tendency to be too aggressive. Then it could that could kind of turn people off a bit, okay? A promotion or bonus is yours around a new moon on the 19th. You've earned this, so just accept it. Do not even say, no, I'm not ready for it. Accept it, okay? The week of the 21st puts the Sun and Venus in your relationship zone, which means love is the law of the land for the holidays. After all the hustle, it feels great to get cozy with your loved ones. All right, I think I did the horoscope for the first 4. Next week, I think we're going to do the next 4 in the signs, okay? So it is tarot time. Alrighty, so it's tarot time, and I'm always with the same deck, okay? The Witch's Tarot by Ellen Duggan. I love her, Dugan rather. And I love her deck, so I'm always using that same deck. And let's see, what would we say that we're going to be asking to find out about? Will it be a nice seasonal time for you all, or relaxing, or what can we say? What are we speaking about tonight? What question do we want to ask or find out about? Since a lot of it was dealing with either how busy or monies pertaining with all of the signs right now that was mentioned, let's find out what our money is going to kind of do for us. And don't forget, I want to hear you guys telling us, what deck you pulled out and what you pulled out for your answer to this, okay? And again, don't cheat. Try to prevent any jumpers and one card you're pulling, okay? So let's see what I've got. And I always get these certain cards, but I'm shuffling as best as I could. Let's see, what have I got? Okay, let's see. I have got the 3 of Pentacles. Okay, I've got the 3 of Pentacles. And for me, it's interesting because this reminds me of when I went to Europe and I was traveling around by train to certain stops. I think it was Amsterdam. There was a church that had this, all the stained glass in the windows, and it literally had pentagrams in that was stained into them. And I thought that was so brilliant because churches in the United States do not have pentagrams around them that I know of anyways. I could be wrong, but in Europe it was wonderful. to see. And that's what this reminds me of, like this nest egg of monies that are just going to be, for me anyways, this is what I'm seeing for me of what I need for the next set of things that I want to accomplish in my life right now for this month into next month. So at least that's what I'm seeing. I hope you guys got wonderful things for you. And let's see what I'm not sure who the guest is for next week. Rhonda did not tell me, but I'm going to say it from both of us, Star and myself. I mean, sorry, Rhonda and myself. We wish to thank you all for being in with us tonight. In those in the chat, again, thank you all so much. I'm really bad at this, and you guys know I am. If I'm doing it myself, I don't have time much to check the chat. So bear with me and thank you. We want to thank Christian Day for being our guest tonight. It was so wonderful to have him here. And don't forget to please like, subscribe, and share on YouTube and Facebook and anywhere else that you guys could think of. And don't forget to let us know about all the other people that you'd like to have us on the show, as well as what other topics you wish to have us cover. All right. And I want to have you guys have a wonderful night tonight, and we'll see you guys next week. All right. Take care and many blessings.